Hello again. I've only just started this YouTube stuff, so I admit I get a little nervous every time the camera gets turned on. But I honestly think some of the things I'm here to talk about might be of help to someone struggling with an alcohol problem. So I've gone ahead and jumped into the deep end of the pool. I hope you'll bear with me while I learn to swim. It remains astonishing to me how people with an alcohol problem, or people in general, just know so little about alcoholism, given the tremendous societal cost to all of us worldwide. Recovery from this chronic terminal illness, known as alcoholism, is possible. It can be done. I'm living proof of that. I got sober on September 11th, 1981, and have stayed sober ever since. Nothing special about me. It can be done. Many people even now, however, don't even believe that alcoholism is a disease. Stick with me here while I prove them wrong. Someone once asked me if I'd rather be right or would I rather be happy. I thought about it and then apparently shocked them when I said I'd rather be right, because being right always makes me happy. So I'm happy now to tell you that the American Medical Association, the AMA, classified alcoholism as a disease way back in 1956. It took the AMA another 31 years before they added addiction as a disease in 1987. But non-alcoholics still have a problem believing it. As recently as 2020, I read a scathing article debunking the disease concept of alcoholism, citing it as a moral failing and a choice. The author managed to irritate me enough to write my own scathing letter to the editor. I hope he learned something from it. So the founders of Alcoholics Anonymous faced a real uphill climb when they put forth the disease concept of addiction way back in the 1930s, calling the alcoholic's compulsion to drink an allergy, and they knew it was a fatal allergy. One of them, Bill Wilson, said this about it, and I'm going to be quoting him here briefly. Some strongly object to the AA position that alcoholism is an illness. This concept, they feel, removes moral responsibility from alcoholics. As any AA member knows, this is far from true. We do not use the concept of sickness to absolve our members from responsibility. On the contrary, we use the fact of fatal illness to clamp the heaviest kind of moral obligation onto the sufferer, the obligation to use AA's 12 steps to get well. In the early days of his drinking, the alcoholic is often guilty of irresponsibility, but once the time of compulsive drinking has arrived, he can't very well be held fully accountable for his conduct. He then has an obsession that condemns him to drink, and a bodily sensitivity to alcohol that guarantees his final madness and death. End of quote. One of the earliest researchers into the disease of alcoholism was research scientist E.M. Jellinek, who in 1950 published his chart documenting the descending stages of alcoholism and the ascending stages of recovery from it. The Jellinek Chart is still in use in addiction recovery centers even today. It's used as a tool to track progress being made away from alcoholic drinking and other dependency substances. You can easily find it in your search engine if you're interested in having a look. It was kind of a life changer for me when I first got a look at it. It really was. Today's science points to alcoholism having a strong genetic component, where alcoholism runs in families. That makes perfect sense to me. I had two brothers. One was not an alcoholic, and the other one, like me, also got the thirsty gene. He got sober in 1981, 6 months before I did, which of course he holds over my head. And he's also stayed sober since then, which makes both of us statistical miracles. And I call us miracles because most alcoholics never even get into recovery. And of those that do, sadly, not all remain sober. And I'm going to address that topic again a lot more in an upcoming video. Some of us can't easily spot the other alcoholics in our family, however, but if we're able to go back a couple of generations, we might easily sniff out the family member reeking of scotch or bourbon. Our own Meemaw might have had the alcoholic gene, but maybe never drank because her dad did. That happens a lot in alcoholic families. A potential alcoholic, having seen what alcohol can do to a person, chooses to never drink, so that trigger never gets pulled. But they unknowingly can pass that wicked alcoholic gene along to their offspring and start the disease up all over again. Our alcoholic great-grandparents might also reek of just beer. Alcoholics who drink only beer seldom think of themselves as having a problem. They don't factor in they drink the stuff by the case and not by the bottle, and that each bottle or can of beer contains the same amount of alcohol as a shot of whiskey. So if they have 6, 8, 12 or more beers in an evening, that's a lot of the drug ethanol going down their neck. Alcoholics choose denial over recovery because alcohol has always been their escape hatch when life gets too tough. Alcoholics literally cannot imagine a life without a drink to take the edge off. They honestly cannot. Their blindness to the effects of their disease on themselves and on their loved ones is absolute, and it's all fear-based. How could I cope? What would life be like without a drink? Here's where I get to tell you the answer, based on my own personal experience with sobriety. Life without the drug ethanol is a mixed bag. It isn't always wonderful, because life isn't always peachy keen. But a sober alcoholic is always interesting, and their life is always interesting because we're actually present to take part in it. Sobriety is scary, easy, hard, hilarious, serious, beautiful. And it's one filled with fun, terrific friends, and unbelievable adventures. It's real. It's exciting. The full spectrum experience. It is amazing as we strive to become the people we were meant to be before we got derailed by the bottle. One day soon I'll tell you about some of my own adventures in recovery, but the highlights include new careers, authoring books, developing work in several art forms, and right now, as I approach my 80th birthday, really soon, living with a few modern conveniences, very few, while helping to renovate an actual 1,000-year-old house on a mountain in Europe. Sober living is all about Sober living is all about adventure. Interesting ones. But the only thing an alcoholic like me will find in a bottle is fear, depression, anxiety, loneliness, sickness, and death. But I've never been this sober before. So every single day of my sober life offers new discoveries. Alcohol is an equal opportunity destroyer. So alcoholics come in all shapes, sizes, ages, colors, and sexes. We're an interesting bunch of people, often high achievers with a fully developed sense of humor. To be a recovering alcoholic, all we have to do is make a decision to either choose death by bottle or choose to live a life beyond our wildest dreams. Choose life. There is help available, all kinds of help. Go find some. Thank you for tuning in today. I hope you'll like and subscribe to my channel if you have found it in any way useful to you. In my next video, I'm going to talk about how to get sober and stay sober. And remember, every single recovery from alcoholism begins with one sober hour. Keep sober. See you next time.